đuôi chiều ở tay đấy. Lên chú ở bên trong đi mọi sạch sạch cái này này. Lên chú cho chú khi ấy đây đũa đây quay cho này xuống đây nước nguội sạch này chứ nóng mấy. Không, thế thôi đến sữa bà không quấy rồi. Đi thì quấy cho cháu quấy được bàn nát này. Mất mắt rồi. Ôi cái chán nó mất mắt rồi.
Cắt được thì không được thì cách nào cũng không được. Bữa đây như vậy.
Ngọn nước rồi cũng là nhạc ở bên hông thôi.
Con Trang của bảo là nếu để lâu quá sẽ tầm 20-30 phút nữa ngọt lắm.
Kệ. Nó tan hết đâu mà chẳng lên lợi đỡ nữa. Món nhạt cặt đây này.
Eo màu giống nhà phải nhớ một canh cơ.
Nước không đủ nóng đi. Nước phải 9 độ cơ, nước này chưa nóng đâu. Nước không ra là hết ngọt đâu.
Để tàn báo là bá vậy.
Không nhìn là nhà phải đưa ngọt rồi đấy.
Cái này cho chúng tôi út cái này. Rồi. Rồi em này biết chưa đây này. Rồi. Còn nóng đầy luôn.
Cái bốn bình nóng hơn đấy, cái này vừa này có một bữa pha mà đã bạc kẻ.
Tôi nói nó nóng.
Cháu không phải nước lạnh không phải chứ.
Lạnh rồi của cháu nó cho ít hơn, nó nóng hơn.
À, thế chứ không nhiều nước rồi hả?
Rồi này. Đây chú có một cái út hả?
Có làm gì có uống nước chú.
Út sữa ấy.
Uống sữa đây thì cái bỏng sữa đây rồi uống được. Đây nào.
Đến mình vớt cái đã rồi chú.
Vứt cái chó đi.
Nhưng mà chúng có bã ra không?
Đi cái bã thì vẫn phải cái trên
Đưa mũi tiền à?
chó mày quá giờ
Phải mực lỗ ở trên cái nắp như nãy đã. Sợ xong rồi nó úp vực như này này. Cho mực lỗ chúng mắt
Em đi.
để cho nó nước đổ lên trên đấy nhưng mà còn đúng là nước chứ không để không lên chứ.
Blackheads usually begin when pores become clogged with excess oil and dead skin cells. So prevention works best when skincare stays gentle, regular, and simple rather than harsh, aggressive, or constantly changing. Wash acne-prone skin no more than twice a day and also after heavy sweating, using a mild cleanser and lukewarm water, because frequent washing, rough scrubbing, and very hot or very cold water can irritate the skin and make acne seem worse. Do not try to squeeze, scrape, or clean out blackheads at home, because that can worsen inflammation and may increase the risk of lasting marks or scarring. Choose oil-free or non-comedogenic skincare, sunscreen, and makeup when possible. Remove makeup before bed and keep oily hair products away from the face. Over-the-counter ingredients, such as salicylic acid, can help unclog pores. Adapalene can help prevent clogged pores, and benzoyl peroxide can support acne treatment, but these products can cause dryness or irritation at first, so it makes sense to start slowly. Use a light moisturizer if needed, and give the routine time to work, because improvement often takes several weeks rather than happening overnight. If acne becomes painful, widespread, scar-forming, or does not improve after a reasonable trial of self-care, it is sensible to see a dermatologist. And now, with that practical advice folded neatly at the front, like a clean towel on a bathroom shelf, let the rest of the evening belong to laughter, because in a small retirement town on the Gulf Coast of the United States, where every porch had at least one chair reserved for just sitting a spell, and every resident had a favorite complaint about humidity, there lived a 79-year-old widow named Marjorie Ann Baxter, who had reached the age where she no longer believed that nonsense happened by accident. In Marjorie's opinion, nonsense took planning, refreshments, and usually at least one woman with a clipboard. Marjorie lived in a pale blue cottage with white shutters, a screened porch, 2 ferns hanging like mildly disapproving judges, and a front walkway lined with seashells set in concrete by her late husband, Willis, who had once declared that the house ought to look like it knew where it was geographically. Willis had been practical in all the important ways, and utterly unreliable in exactly the ways that made a long marriage worth remembering. He paid the bills early, sharpened knives correctly, could repair almost anything with a cord or a wheel, and yet he had a dangerous tenderness for decorative objects that looked like they had been made by a person experiencing both joy and poor judgment. The crowning achievement of this tendency was a cement pelican wearing a tiny fishing vest. He had won it at a church charity auction after what he described as a straightforward bidding process and what everyone else described as Willis losing all sense of scale in public. He brought it home in the process, back of the truck, set it beside the front bird bath, stepped back with his hands on his hips, and said, with full masculine confidence, that every respectable household needed one coastal professional standing guard over morale. Marjorie had laughed until she had to sit down on the porch step. The pelican stayed. It stayed through storms, repainting, family visits, one regrettable nephew with a football, and all the long, quieter years after Willis died, when the rooms seemed neater but less persuaded of their own purpose. She never moved the pelican. She dusted it. She straightened the little fishing vest after wind. She once told the package delivery driver not to lean a box against it because Captain Rodney has enough responsibilities without handling footwear. Her 2 closest companions in life were Bette Lou Sinclair, age 73, retired church secretary, owner of a sunflower print handbag large enough to conceal cash, cough drops, a notepad, emergency lipstick, and probably a sidearm if the mood took her, and a woman who could detect gossip in the atmosphere the way weather stations detect pressure, and Harmon Reed, age 82, former hardware store manager, amateur chess tirant, and a man who trusted cast iron, black coffee, and his own first impression more than he trusted QR codes, scented candles, or any grown adult who said vibes without embarrassment. Every Thursday morning, the three met at Pearl's seaside kitchen, where the pancakes were too large for reason, the coffee was dark enough to feel regulatory, and the waitress, a sturdy woman named Jolene, called everybody sugar in a tone that somehow meant both affection and possible correction. One Thursday in late May, Marjorie arrived 12 minutes late carrying a gift bag and the expression of a woman who had been personally offended by sunrise. Bet Lou stopped buttering her toast mid-swipe. Harmon lowered his cup without taking the sip he had clearly anticipated. Jolene paused with the coffee pot held halfway to history. "That face," Bet Lou said, narrowing her eyes, "means either the church women have started another project or somebody has done something to your property." Marjorie sat down, set the gift bag on the booth beside her, and said, "Someone has crowned my pelican king of romance." Harmon blinked once. Bet Lou blinked twice. Jolene slowly put the coffee pot down. "You're what?" Bet Lou asked. Marjorie reached into the bag and withdrew a paper crown edged in gold glitter. Not tasteful gold glitter. The sort of gold glitter that behaves like a crime scene and remains in your house until tax season. Across the band, in red cursive letters, it read, "King of Second Chances." "This," Marjorie said, "was on Captain Rodney's head when I came out to water the ferns." Jolene placed a hand over her chest. "Not the pelican." "Exactly the pelican." Now, to younger people, the unauthorized crowning of a decorative pelican might sound like a problem too small to deserve strategic breakfast attention. But younger people have not yet lived long enough to understand what retirement communities do to a weak idea. They feed it, they print it, they schedule it, they call it heartwarming, and then send it through 3 committees until it returns wearing a sash. In Bay Cypress Village, no event remained modest. A bake sale became a board initiative. A social mixer became a task force. A volunteer appreciation luncheon could produce 2 resignations and a Lemon Square boycott if mishandled. So when Marjorie explained that the town's upcoming event, called Sunset Hearts on the Marina, had apparently chosen her husband's decorative pelican as its symbolic king and official gentleman guide, the table recognized instantly that this was no longer whimsy. This was infrastructure. By the time the eggs arrived, half the diner knew. A man at the counter said he had always thought the pelican had strong confidence without arrogance. A woman near the pie case declared the activities committee morally unchaperoned. Jolene brought Marjorie extra bacon for grounding purposes. Bet Lou had already turned over a paper placemat and written Pelican Crisis across the back in thick block letters. "We're investigating," she announced. Marjorie sighed. "We're eating breakfast." "Both can happen," Harmon replied. Which was exactly the sort of sentence retired people say when they have already promoted themselves into involvement. By 10:30, they were standing in Marjorie's front yard beside the birdbath. The place where Captain Rodney normally stood, fishing vest forward, beak slightly lifted in permanent self-importance, was empty. Not crooked, not chipped, empty. Marjorie stopped so fast that Bet Lou nearly walked into her shoulder. "No," she said. Harmon took off his glasses, polished them on his shirt, put them back on, and looked again with the solemn dissatisfaction of a man who had hoped not to be proved right before lunch. "Well," he said, "that improves the seriousness." Bet Lou found a strip of pale blue ribbon caught in the rosemary. Harmon found 2 narrow cart tracks in the sand by the drive. Marjorie stood with one hand on her hip, staring at the blank patch where Willis's ridiculous pelican had stood for years, and said, "They have abducted a memorial bird for courtship propaganda." Bet Lou wrote it down immediately. By noon, the entire neighborhood knew. At the community mailbox cluster, Mrs. Talbot asked whether the event would proceed without His Majesty. At the pharmacy, a cashier said her aunt had bought 2 tickets only because the Pelican made it feel less desperate. At chair yoga, 2 women paused in a stretch to ask whether the crowning ceremony had been postponed. Even Ernesto, the groundskeeper, who had wisely built a life around staying out of resident folklore, shook his head and said, "The Pelican? That's too much." Marjorie's daughter called from Houston, already laughing hard enough to require 3 separate restarts. "Mama," she said, "why is Daddy's lawn pelican in a romance monarchy?" "Because this town is one centerpiece away from moral collapse," Marjorie replied. "Are you upset?" "I am offended on principle and interested in names." The first useful clue came from the cashier at the Marina gift shop, who lowered her voice and said, "I probably shouldn't mention this, but I saw Brenda Miller and Carol Faye yesterday buying battery candles, pearl ribbon, and a tiny scepter from the party section. They had a photo of a pelican and were asking whether nautical royalty sounded charming or too much." Brenda Miller chaired the activities board. Carol Faye handled decorative environments, which sounded harmless, until one learned she had once put netting and starfish around the bingo podium for cohesion. Together, they were exactly the type of women who would kidnap a decorative pelican to boost ticket sales and still call it community sparkle. So, by 1:30 Marjorie, Bette Lou, and Harmon were at the Marina Hall. It had already been transformed into the sort of atmosphere only retirees, dim lighting, and a clearance aisle of fabric flowers can create. Small tables wore white cloths and seashell centerpieces. Tiny lights glowed in jars. A violin recording hummed softly from a speaker. And at the front of the room, on a crate draped in gauzy blue fabric beneath a sign reading, "Love comes back with the tide," stood Captain Rodney. He had been polished. His fishing vest had been brushed, and resting on his cement head was the glittering paper crown, now joined by a little satin sash across his chest that read, "Follow your heart." Marjorie stopped dead. "Now they've formalized him," she said. Harmon folded his arms. "This is why I distrust themes." Brenda turned and smiled in the brittle, overbright way of a woman who knew she had crossed a line, but still believed the display looked excellent. "Marjorie," she said, "I was just about to call you." "Then let us spare one another the courtesy," Marjorie replied. "Why is my late husband's decorative pelican dressed for symbolic emotional leadership?" Carol Faye appeared from behind a tray of lemonade glasses and immediately looked like she would gladly relocate counties. Several volunteers nearby, previously pretending to fold napkins, became absolutely motionless, which is one of the great athletic arts of retirement communities. Brenda spread her hands. "Now, before you misunderstand, no," Marjorie said. "I understand completely. You took private property from my front yard, decorated it, and assigned it romantic governance." Bette Lou opened her notebook. Harmon made a low approving sound. Brenda tried the standard excuse. "We only borrowed him." Borrowed contains asking. "We meant to ask. You did not. We thought you'd be touched by decorative monarchy." Carol Faye tried a gentler approach. "He just projects such steady hope," Harmon snorted. "He is concrete and 4 feet tall." At that exact moment, Mrs. Pendleton from the residence board entered carrying printed programs and asked the doomed ceremonial question, "What seems to be the issue?" Bette Lou answered, before the room could fully inhale. "The issue is that Brenda and Carol have apparently raided Marjorie's front yard and laundered a decorative pelican into romance royalty." The room broke. One volunteer near the punch bowl laughed so hard she had to sit down. Another covered her mouth and failed entirely. Even Mrs. Pendleton turned toward the wall and took a long, restorative breath. Marjorie, however, stayed very calm, which at her age was always more threatening than shouting. "Take the crown off," she said. Carol Faye did. "Take the sash off." She did. "Take down the sign." Brenda did. "And if there are commemorative napkins, keepsake magnets, or themed cocktail pics with his face on them, I suggest immediate surrender." There were, in fact, cocktail pics. Harmon held up a box of them and said, "Lord preserve us." Brenda apologized, then apologized more correctly, then finally admitted the truth. Ticket sales for Sunset Hearts were weak. Widowers were shy. Widows were skeptical. A symbol seemed comforting. Someone mentioned the pelican. Everyone loved the pelican. "He has presence," Brenda said weakly. "He has mass," Marjorie replied. "Those are not the same thing." In the end, the matter was settled with the solemn intensity only retirees can bring to complete foolishness once principle becomes involved. Captain Rodney was returned home. The symbolic king idea was canceled. The cocktail pics were confiscated, and a new rule was added to community event policy. No resident-owned memorial object, lawn ornament, novelty figure, decorative mascot, sentimental statue, or emotionally significant absurdity could be borrowed, branded, accessorized, photographed, promoted, or assigned romantic symbolism without written permission from the owner. Bet Lou insisted on emotionally significant absurdity. Harmon insisted on written. Marjorie insisted on all of it. That should have ended the affair. But Retirement Town comedy does not believe in endings. It believes in aftershocks, side effects, and one extra round of nonsense to keep everybody spiritually limber. Because once the story spread, Captain Rodney became locally famous. Children visiting grandparents wanted photos with the Love Pelican. A widow from Juniper Lane left a note saying she still believed he had calming energy. A retired dentist sent a card saying the event had not deserved him. The local paper ran a small item under the headline